for the 2018-2019 budget year. Today is February 12th, 2018. It is 5:30 p.m. And first item on the agenda is 4210 Finance Department. Peter, how are you tonight?
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just make a few brief comments to thank the board for their support over the years. We brought in another lean budget, and we just have a modest increase due to wages. And I also want to acknowledge that we have some members of the department here today. We have Ariane Swift, our city accountant, and Daniel Thomas, our city assessor, who are here as well. And the three of us are here, and if you have any questions, we'll be happy to address them. Thank you.
And just as an aside, Mr. Chairman, the finance department has gone through a lot over the last year. They had some retirements in a variety of their different divisions, and Peter and his team really stepped up and filled in those gaps, working into the wee hours of the night. The accounting division especially, they had a lot to do, especially with Munis and the conversion that is coming up, and I really do take my hat off to the whole team that really did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Peter and the finance department for your efforts. If you have anything further to say, I can open it up to members of the board to see if they have any specific questions.
I think this is related to Dan's reeval, right? The reduction in the cost, the budgeting from 71 down to 45, requested 71 down to 45. That's 4752 account.
Yes.
Right.
The 45 is going to be sufficient then, obviously, right?
We would hope so. Primarily, this year, it's set aside primarily for tax appeals and potential need for additional appraisal support in some of the bigger tax appeals. That's the general intent behind the year after the revaluation.
What is our revaluation schedule? Are we on a 10-year schedule?
Yeah,
or
5-year.
5-year schedule?
We just completed 2016, so this is the first list. Afterwards, tax appeals are generally filed in June, so we started incurring some expense with respect to appraisal support, say the first 2 years out from the date of the original assessment.
So the next one is when?
2021.
Thank you.
Sure.
And the last one was 16? No.
Yes.
Correct.
16. So this is where the, okay, second year out. We're still betting the,
Well, they would have gone to the Board of Assessment Appeals, and then if they get denied, then they'll go to...
within 1 year, right?
Well, they can appeal it every year.
Can they?
Yes.
Only that...
You only get one bite of the apple in the 5-year.
No, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I said every year, but
Okay.
anytime, any year.
Gotcha. I'm all set with finance. You okay?
Yep. Okay, thank you. Board of Assessment Appeals, 4143.
29. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, those are generally just...
Oh, the big one. The big one's coming up.
That's it. 4215, LIS.
39.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Dan.
39.
There you go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Most of you know me, but my name's Jean Lazek. I'm the MIS coordinator. So, yes, as you said, yeah.
One big question.
Yeah. The budget, basically my budget is exactly each line item with the exception of the software and maintenance. The 4796 is the same as last year. And that one went up, which is what I believe you're probably referring to.
Right.
Because of the Munis project, that's year, July 1st of 2018 will be year 3 of the project plan. And so the capital improvement plan basically was from, and Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, it was from 16 to 17, 17 to 18, and then 18 to 19, correct? It was the project plan. And year 18, 19, which is what we're talking about, July 18, is when we're on year, is when we are off the first 2 years.
The first 2 years.
Right.
This
And
is the
then
third.
So we're going into the third year, which is part of the capital improvement plan. It was built into the project.
So in essence,
So-
we move forward with a capital expense, and for the first 2 years of this capital expense, the maintenance fee was baked into that capital expense only for the first 2 years, even though it's still ramping up and getting online. We're on year 3 of the project, which will go online this year, but for the next fiscal year, there's going to be a maintenance fee associated with Munis, which is our finance software, HR software. It basically runs the city.
So this is the new baseline, then, basically?
This is the new baseline, yeah. Right. So that kicks in for July 1st. Yes.
So we went up 162,000 under the software and maintenance.
It absorbed the old line item, because the vendor that we use is Tyler Systems. Tyler Systems owns New World Systems, which is the previous package. So it's the difference between the two. So we've actually, so the annual maintenance the current one got absorbed into that number. So yes, it's gone, the difference is between, let's see, the previous year was, yeah, so the previous year was, for that line item was 66,000, we're going up to 216,000. So that's the difference.
Do another line. The previous year, we had 279,708 for software and maintenance.
Right, that's
right?
correct, that is
Okay.
correct.
That's gonna be absorbed,
No, the line item for the software, for the financial system.
right,
Everything else has stayed the same.
right.
Right,
So the software and maintenance goes from 279 up to 442,
correct.
which includes,
It includes the new Munis product and all the financial systems, HR systems. It replaces what we are currently using, which is New World Systems.
right. So the whole new system costs us 442,000?
No, that's what I'm saying. It
Yeah,
used to
okay.
be 66.
I'm sorry?
The line item for New World used to be 66. This current year is 66.
It's within her, see, the
Yeah.
279 has, on her budget, has other line items other
Yeah,
than,
right.
other than
Yeah.
the
Right,
Munis system.
We have a good 30 products that get paid out of that account.
And Gene, correct me if I'm wrong, but this also covers the expense. We're moving to a cloud-based hosting system. So this covers that expense as well, whereas we used to have to spend more on servers that we used to have to maintain in this location right here or down the hallway. So that is one expense which will hopefully decrease over time, because we won't have to purchase those servers, or as many of those servers. We will have this now cloud-based hosting platform instead.
Wowie, okay.
So I'm sorry, just to finish the thought, the increase was from 66 to
216.
216, and that was based, that's for the Munis system.
That's for the Munis, the annual maintenance. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's for year 3. The first 2 years, as the mayor stated, the first 2 years were built into the project plan.
Right.
And then year 3 goes into the operating budget.
Once this comes online, do we expect any savings in any of the other line items?
There'll be some smaller savings. We do have other products that we use. For instance, we have an imaging system that we do documents scanning and indexing into, but it's a very small line item. The difference between the products is like apples to oranges.
Right.
But there are some decreases. But the value add that you're getting for this product, as far as the support, the fact that it's hosted, the fact that it's multifaceted, and it's available to everybody versus a small section of our user base. Now we're going to have a system where the workflow is actually taking over. The system is managing the process versus user-based management. Less paper involved. It's going to be more of a process where you start at point A and end at point Z without actually having to produce a purchase order or produce invoice payment vouchers, things like that. It's all done through the system.
Save any personnel?
That I can't really say.
It will streamline operational efficiencies. You know, as Gene said, every time we have a PO or some kind of piece of paper, you know, it's the old carbon copy style where it has to be touched by a half dozen plus different departments and different people. This will have a document management component that's part of it, so that it will be a click of the mouse, and that will be the authorization or the approval for a PO or a recreational permit that have to go to a half dozen plus departments each time. So there will be some efficiencies. It's hard to quantify as we sit here today, other than if you look at over the last 5 years, we have reduced positions, and it's because we've tried to streamline the way that we operate. This is one more step of being able to operate in a more efficient and effective way.
It will also enhance our internal controls. It will have position control budgeting, for example. It will also help empower users citywide to be able to download their data into Excel easily, at a click of a button, and be able to manipulate the data, use it, as opposed to a more manual process.
How will the PO approval system change? How will that change?
It will be paperless, if you will.
Who
Right
will
now,
be approving?
there is a chain of command, so we've actually made sure that the existing controls are in place. We've enhanced them a bit, and it will, all of the approvals through the various stages will be done through the system electronically. So you'll be able to notify people that as a reviewer you have POs in queue, and the person will have to log in and approve them online.
And it will show up as them approving it?
Yes, yes. And that's the other part of the internal control piece is there's a very secure electronic audit trail. So you'll know the time, the date, who did what, everything is recorded in the system.
How's the security on it?
Very robust. It has to follow strict, they call it software as a service or cloud-based. It's a very strict protocol.
Cannot be hacked?
It shouldn't be, no.
The POs can't be hacked?
No.
You could also then see where things are held up, I'm assuming?
Yes, you can see, that's the other beauty of it. So a department is not getting on the phone having to wait wondering what's going on with a PO. They'll look it up and know, okay, it's sitting in, you know, the department head's queue to be approved, or the mayor's queue, or the finance director's queue to be approved.
Right, especially when he goes on vacation, it all gets screwed up, I know.
How long are those maintenance
Now, the other
contracts?
question on this is,
How long are those maintenance contracts for that?
well, I'm sorry.
How
long?
they're typically a year, is that what you mean? As far as contracts, the current contract,
I believe is 7 years.
it's a 7-year
We have a 7-year
plan,
agreement.
but it's an annual billing.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so you're 3 years into a 7-year contract, if I'm hearing the whole process right, or?
We're in the this the year we're in now is the second
Second
year.
year.
This budget is the third year of a
Correct.
7-year agreement.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
The other big question is, the Board of Education is not in this.
No,
Of
they
course not.
upgraded their software several years ago, but it's not the same software. We're going to Munis, and they are on a different system.
Their software is unique to schools,
It's what?
unique to schools.
Of course. I'd love it, but
Okay.
I don't. Okay.
Anybody else?
I'm all set on this.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you so
You
much.
want nothing else?
Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
What do we have?
4121, the mayor's office, page 17.
This will take off.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm happy to answer any questions. The budget that's before you is a status quo budget that is very similar to the last several years, probably the last 5 years in a row, other than some contractual wage adjustments.
I think we need chairs. No chairs in there.
No chair.
Oh, no chairs.
All right, anybody?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. General expenses, 4122.
Peter and I are available if you have any questions about those.
The professional fees, why was that cut out? What was that and what was it?
We have had it in the past as a temporary or a temporary grant administrator.
Oh,
We hired several years ago a temporary grant administrator for a short period of time. Back maybe 7, 8 years ago, we did have a temporary grant administrator. So that account used to be funded. At this point, we have not funded it for this year. We're working on the grants that we've already received. So generally, that position was to secure grants as opposed to administer the grants after they've been received. At some point, we may enlist the services of a grant administrator, but perhaps not this year.
Isn't our open space coordinator handling a lot of the grant administration?
He is. He is handling all of the CDBG DR grants, which are 10 grants that take a lot of time. So he's doing a good job with that.
Burnt Plains Open Space, how many
Yeah.
more years we have on that? Isn't that the payment to the water company?
Yes.
Do we know approximately?
I do know that I think last year was the first year, I think for the first, is it 5 years?
Yeah, about the first 5.
The first 5 years was tax interest free. And then the interest got added on. So now it's a little over $30,000. Before, I think for at least a 5-year period, it was a flat $30,000. It's 10 years.
It's a 10-year agreement. To answer your question, I keep track of that. I believe there's about 3 years left, 2 or 3 years left on that. So once we reach the end, obviously I will adjust the budget accordingly.
Right. And if you look at the line item above that, in soccer field rentals, that was the YMCA soccer fields.
Right.
If you remember, there was about $20,000 a year that we spent on that rental, but we worked out an agreement with the Y when we did a land swap and we added the playing fields over at Orange Avenue, so that we reduced that to $1 a year.
Great. Anybody?
The regional planning, we have something going on with that regional planning.
Those are dues primarily for SCROG, the South Central Regional Council of Governments. Ours is comprised of 17 towns, and it goes really from Milford all the way up to Meriden, Madison, Guilford, New Haven. We have our transportation grants funnel through there, so you have to be a member in order to administer those transportation grants.
Okay.
you.
Is that all straightforward?
Golf course 4121.
112.
112, yes, okay. Good evening, how are you?
Actually, good afternoon.
That's right. Go right up.
Dan Worldwell, Commissioner, Financial Advisor for some of the things for the golf course. Dick Watson couldn't make it. Be happy to answer any questions you have on the golf course. I also like to thank Peter and the staff whenever I have a question on the different accounts we have. They're always there to help me, and also, not only with this commission, with other commissions, with the invoice process and everything. So the staff does a good job.
Thank you.
As you can see, the budget for this year is the same as last year, okay? Identical, it's an enterprise fund.
The revenue hasn't gone up?
Revenue.
How do you
is-
determine the revenue?
All right, the management company pays us a fee per year to operate the golf course. We also get money for open space based on the number of rounds that are played during the year. We also get money from golf cart rentals, full cart rentals. And we recently redid the back room at the golf course, so now it's available for rental. So that's a plus, because we had a new maintenance building, so we also get part of the revenue from that. So that's where we get all of it.
What is the management company paying now?
Paying $77,000 a year. They're responsible for everything though, basically. Okay, they handle their staff, they handle utilities, etc.
Are they
Went up?
profitable?
Are they profitable?
Yeah.
I really don't know, because I think it's their business, and, you know, I kind of know what they make. I just don't know some of their.
Well, not specifically, do you think it's a fair arrangement?
I think it is. We recently renewed their contract. We're on a year-to-year deal now based on our original contract. They can renew every year for 5 years. I mean, it's the 4th year. And we take into consideration a lot of things. The golf business is basically down.
Right.
Okay? Last year, their rounds dropped a lot. Okay? Weather, everything else. So we basically kept the same arrangement this year.
The maintenance replacement fund, do we have a balance in that?
We do. We have a balance, and I think it's in the area of 15,000 plus, based on last week's numbers. Okay, so we have that. Anything we don't use goes into the Fund 18 account.
Goes where?
Fund 18 account.
How much we got in that? Uh-huh.
90.
Yeah, about 90,000.
90,000.
What do we need that for?
What do you need that for? It's good to have a modest fund balance, or enough fund balance for emergencies, like capital emergencies.
It's a reserve.
Reserve.
For what?
Well, here's a good-
Management company takes care of everything.
Here's a
Not
good
every-
example. At the last Board of Alderman meeting, we have to replace our HVAC system there. Boiler, the air conditioner, now that we got the back room in operation, we need air conditioning to do all that, okay? It's the original system, 20 years, and it's gonna run us in the area of between $30,000 and $35,000. It comes out of the Fund 18 account, otherwise we just couldn't do it, you know? If we wanna replace a green, we wanna move the tees, which we did ages ago, cost us a lot of money. But that's what that's for, in case we have an expense that's a major expense.
They don't move the team?
No, I mean, if we wanted to build a new tee, say we want to increase the property, yeah, we wanted to increase the fairways and stuff.
Yeah, I got a house next door, you can use it for a clubhouse.
Yeah.
All right?
90 grand you're selling it for?
Huh?
90 grand you're gonna sell it for?
90 grand. Okay.
All right, well,
I'm
thank
all
you.
set with that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Chief Ito,
Yes, sir.
Fire Department, 4320.
51.
Thank you. I have Battalion Chief Dan Lawson with us.
How you doing?
The Financial Chief. Finance Chief.
Well, is there anything you'd like to present? Please do so, otherwise I'll open up the floor to the members.
Yeah, right, so quickly, after last year's budget was set, we had to take the 2%. I think that was at the last minute involvements. So this year, what we decided to do was basically we took the recommendation from the board from last year and just cut and pasted in this year. So pretty much what we do, you know, so the mayor's budget and your budget from last year is what we're presenting to you. About 2%. And any questions? Try to answer. Another good thing though is when we went to the bowling last year, we had to make up some funds in regular wages for the contract was just signed just prior, so we made up some wages there, and it's reflected by this year, the pay raise.
What are the fire station improvements?
On the capital side?
Yeah, the capital outlays, yeah.
So what you're asking what those are? It's just for, actually, it's for like a general maintenance. It's when the bigger ticket, like the garage doors, they break off and the AC units. I think I've explained that before, where we try to get a couple of one every other year because just like the golf course where you build the station and all of a sudden the station's 20 years old and all the AC units on the rooftops are all, you know, at their limit. So we put in a plan where we buy one or two every couple of years. We replace some at headquarters at Station 8 on the west side, Norfolk Avenue. And door springs are always an issue.
How is the integrated dispatch system working?
It's working out well. We could use some manpower in there if you feel like hiring some people. We could use some extra dispatchers. They work. We're negotiating. They're trying to finish up a contract. They were working 12-hour straight shifts, and it was kind of exhausting for them. And we're trying to go back to the 8-hour shift, 7-3, 11, 7. But it seems to be working out well. The space, it's tight there. It's not set up well for a dispatch center, but with the new building, we hope that we have a nice area for them to work.
What new building?
If it's a wish list.
What, are they set up in the police department now? All the
They are,
dispatch?
yes, they are.
Well,
And
they could
took
use a juvenile center for that.
They're set up in the existing police department communication center. They'll operate out of the same room, and there's consoles on one side that are fire primary and consoles on the other side that are police. Right now there are two different public safety dispatchers working on each side. One of the goals of the city is to have one union with public safety dispatchers as opposed to fire dispatchers and police dispatchers for a variety of reasons. As the chief mentioned, the fire dispatchers work a 12-hour shift per their contract. Police dispatchers work 8-hour shifts. So those are some of the things that have to be worked out through negotiations and through labor agreements in order to consolidate.
So basically, the operations are integrated, but the personnel is not integrated.
To some degree they are. We've been taking baby steps over the last couple of years to make it one. It is one seamless operation. I don't mean to lead you astray. It's a very good system, but there are things that we're working on from a management point to make it even more improved.
Okay.
Currently now, some of them are doing the cross training right now.
So that's my question. So
That's the,
if you have a fire dispatcher, is she able to handle police calls?
New hires are all public safety dispatchers that are being hired, and the public safety dispatchers get training for both.
Okay.
Is that fair?
yeah, that's the goal. So, through the contract negotiations,
So it's
baby
evolved.
steps,
It's evolved.
trying to get the others to learn the others
Okay.
dispatching, so it's a work in progress.
Okay.
It's still moving forward, slow, it's moving.
I started a program, it's an electronic medical dispatching program, and that involves a comprehensive quality improvement program as well. So all the police dispatchers all went through that training as well as fire dispatchers. So I feel safe venturing to guess that the medical calls are the lion's share of the 911 calls.
So if somebody calls 911, who picks it up? It could be either one of them, they'll do it. Or is there a special dispatcher?
It can be either one. Primarily, it's on the fire department side where the 911 rings.
Okay.
If there's more than two at once, then they can roll over and pick up 911 on the police side, which is why they went through the medical training.
There are 4 dispatchers, so 2 calls are very common, back to back, and
Right.
the third one, they would pick it up. But it's a display screen and it pretty much directs you on what the questions to ask, and it gives you the recommendation for the resources to say.
Got
But
it.
again, like the chief says, that the EMS side is the bulk of the
Welcome.
upline, I know.
Yeah, welcome.
Simple question, the Overtime Festival, does the Oyster Festival reimburse us for that?
They did.
They do.
So there is a pot of money that goes into fire department, a pot of money that goes into the police department, and some that goes into public works. So I guess those 3 departments.
Does it go in the general fund or is it go?
The bulk, it goes into the general
General
fund
fund.
to reimburse the general.
All right. Professional fees and services, that's gone up. Now, why is that gone up? 4189.
I know that service contracts and we go,
Oh, TNBG, TNG.
that's the, really, it's part of it's part of the MIS department. They run all, they're kind of our IT that's
Right.
subbed out from Gene's MIS department. It's Motor Business Network.
Business Network.
Business Network Group. Right, yeah, Bush. Ice cream Bush, but they,
Is this part of the new system?
No, it's just,
no.
if you look even historically, you look at the amount expensed in 2016, 2017.
Oh, I got you.
It is over the,
All right.
it's over $25,000, so this reflects more an accurate picture of what actually goes into that fund. We only have 1/2 of a dedicated MIS team member in fire, and he then spends the other half of his time in police. So an operation that's that large with that many employees, generally had probably 2 or 3 MIS folks or IT professionals, and we have half of an individual for each of those 2 departments.
Yeah, if you recall, probably our first year doing this, 13, we asked for a full-time IT person just for fire. As well, I believe the police department did too.
Next one I had was 4331, the gas, you know, projected for 45,000 for the 2017-18. I don't understand that. Why is it projected only 45, but we're budgeting 90 and confusion on that?
Yeah. Was that at the, is that the halfway mark, was that at the time that you?
Should be projected for the year.
It should be for the year.
It should be for the year, it's
Maybe that's
bouncing
just
around. The budget was 90
You see that?
originally.
Yeah, I see that, and
Right.
that does not make sense at all. To be honest with you, I don't know why.
Maybe this burnt on it.
Well,
No.
no, so
The only thing I
That
can't say for this, and Peter's getting the details and running the numbers, but the gas and other propellants account, that's one of the accounts that rolls into the fuel reserve fund, or energy reserve fund. So one of the line items that isn't really covered here in the fire department budget, and even if you flip to the next department, the emergency management
Yeah,
department,
Right.
is the Siemens Lane property. Since we took that over only a couple of years ago, we have to pay for the expense of heating and utilities for that. And I don't know if you've seen that building, but it's huge. Chief, how many square feet is the Siemens Lane property building? It must be like 40,000 square feet? Maybe not that large,
yeah,
but it's
not that large.
30,000 square feet?
Maybe 30.
Isn't the police department using that
It's,
for training?
It's for emergency management, but primary fire department, the fire department uses it for training, for storage, and for other uses. But we do store emergency equipment there for police and fire.
I thought they were doing training in there.
They do training.
we're training there,
Do you sign any
Oh, the
costs?
police?
Yeah.
not there, no,
No?
not in that one.
Oh, okay. I
Uh,
thought they were.
Siemens Lane across the street from
Middlesex.
Middlesex School. It was an old army building, they gave us use for it. That had to be, so on our Greenaway sheets there, it was, we put 45 on the lot. Had to have been a mistake now, so that was good.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Because our fuel is always, historically, it's in the 90-95 all the time.
Yeah.
Gas and oil pumps.
The projection is fairly accurate. It might be somewhat understated, but keep in mind that if there is a small surplus at the end of the year, we transfer that to the energy reserve, which the fire department in some years has needed to tap into. So
So we're only projecting $45,000?
that was initially stated, but looking at right now, there's no, it may
It's got-
likely go above the
Yeah,
45.
But that's my mistake that I had that on the sheet.
Yeah.
That's something.
Well, similarly, I mean, we were talking about the professional fees, but we're only projecting 12,000 professional fees this year, and then the difference is that expenditure, the
Yeah,
TMBG
the contracts.
contract.
And if you see, how can we project, we've already gone over
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering if
the projections.
are.
So there's,
Yeah, sometimes.
Scrivener's error there.
Yeah, there could be a few
A few projections.
projections that are off.
Oh, okay.
I know that
All right.
we have a contract with them and they give us a certain amount of hours a month and then they charge us for the extra hours. And they seem to be, exceeding that number monthly.
Yes, yeah.
So we did
So
notice that.
we never,
Some
we definitely
hours we got started.
Are we doing additional things in Marine, 4333? That's increasing 5,500 for some reason. What do you got?
So for the boat,
I don't know what you,
marine expenses,
yeah, marine expenses, yeah.
so you're saying it's
It's
12.
increasing 5,500, any exceptional thing going on with it?
Not for
The expense of
other,
jet ski.
it's just, well, yeah, we added the third unit, we added the jet ski. But the maintenance, the only other thing that we have maintenance left on the fireboat is for painting. And we still take the docking charge,
The what?
the dock, the slip.
Mhm.
We take the slip out of that too, so we don't know what the cost is.
They got new people running that show there
And
now.
it's usually, I want to say it's 4,500 a year for that, so.
Okay.
and I believe that 5,500 just brings us back up to what it was the year before.
The year before, right.
We don't have the other, but the,
The educational supplement, we're gonna end the year at 317,
A lot of that's attributable to the new fire contract.
okay?
And there was an additional supplement for paramedic licenses or paramedics education that was negotiated.
Yeah.
Because of the new EMS setup?
Yeah, that's the
We have,
Yeah, there was this.
we wanted to try to incentivize it so that we had folks to work the buses. Obviously, we do generate revenue from that, and, you know, the hope is that they have enough staff. Right now, we have about 27 paramedics. I think all 113 firefighters, other than the chief, are EMTs. But we have about 27 paramedics, so additional paramedic training on top of their EMT status.
Okay, so last year we budgeted 175, it came in at 317, and we're gonna go to 225.
And that's because of the contract and with the
Yeah, that's because the contract was,
chief.
and that's the difference of,
I was just saying, we're gonna spend 315 this year, so why do we ask for 225?
And why did we only budget 175 last year?
Well, last year the budget
If we had
was
a
before
contract.
it was before the contract had been settled, so.
Oh, okay.
Where would you
Before
get the money for
contract
the
was
overrun?
settled? Okay.
How do we get the money for the overrun? We budget 175 and then we're going up to 317.
some of the revenue that's anticipated
Yeah?
may be able to be used to cover this cost.
That's a lot.
We did ask for more, but it got cut. And we do have to pay those stipends to the medics and the EMTs on the buses.
So one of the areas, because it's directly related to the EMT services, this educational supplements, I talked to the chief when I was doing my budget with him, and we are taking some of the educational supplement out of the line item, I'm sorry, it's not a budget line item, out of the revenue that we receive from our paramedic services, the transport services. So that he had requested an additional $100,000, or not requested, that was part of the contract. But we agreed that since it's very closely aligned with this emergency transport that we do, and we received approximately $1 million for it, that money would be used towards paying off the education supplements for the paramedics. We're doing the emergency triage and transport.
Who does the billing for our EMS services?
It is EM squared?
Not anymore, it's called Quick Med Claims. They were bought out,
Okay.
but they still maintain the same management, same physical location. They're owned by Quick Med Claims, which is out of Pennsylvania.
Don't we have a budget for them in here anywhere?
They take a percentage of the bills that they're able to collect, not, you know, so they have a percentage of the bills that they collect.
Right, which is what's collected, not billed out,
Right.
because a lot of times insurance companies are.
Not accounts payable, but accounts collected,
So
or
it's
accounts received.
a collection agency?
They do all the billing. It's like most medical providers have, or a lot of medical providers have a billing agency that they work with that have a similar relationship.
Okay.
Chief, did you provide any type of narrative that goes with this? Because on you know, the major areas here on operational, I'm seeing a little bit by bit over the budget and the projected, we increased about 30,000. And then the capital outlays, we went up about 40,000. And it just seems like, you know, bit by bit, account, you know, not any big increases, but 5, 2, 1, here and there, they're all going up.
And
And there was money budgeted last year, and in some, you know, in some of the cases, I'm seeing that the budget came pretty close to the projected, okay? And those are lower than what you're requesting this year.
we're still trying to catch up in most of the accounts.
Okay.
And again, like I mentioned earlier about the AC or the stage VA, those things, the roofs leak. Every firehouse, the roof leaks, they're flat roofs. All the firehouses need asphalt, they need to be ground up. These things, a lot of these things are in a capital improvement plan and they get set aside for next year. This year we got a fire truck, we're buying an engine. But those other projects, we try to save some accounts, nickel and dime, the increases as you see. And then we'll transfer the money into maybe the station improvements and get some of those things done. Older buildings, flat roofs leaking, all the asphalt, the front ramps, if you visit 3 of our houses, the front ramps have divots, so the trucks just barely getting out without scraping their fuel tanks. They need to be dug up, reprocessed, and the asphalt. And Public Works has been great with us. They've done a lot of work. They continue to work with us, but somebody has to pay for the material.
But to follow up on the chief's point, last year, and I don't recall whether it was before or after the Board of Finance weighed in and adopted their recommendations, but we went after the mayor's recommendations were adopted. I went back to all the departments, including the fire department, and the fire department reduced line by line by approximately 2% of their overall budget. So they took a one-time hit on a lot of items that they were able to scrape by for 1 year because we had some spending controls in place for that 1 year. Everything from a hiring freeze to other adjustments that they were able to do temporarily, and I don't know if that's sustainable year over year. So that's why some of the account numbers were bumped back up, not to figures that they've never really seen before, but the figures from 2 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just from a curiosity perspective, advertising? What's advertising?
Currently, actually right now, we advertise for employment we're in a test. And I believe that we have to, when we go out to bid for some of the projects, that we have to share some of us with the purchasing department.
One question on cell phones, how many do we have?
So most of the staff have cell phones, but we kind of double purpose that one for data plans for our devices as well. So the computers in the trucks, they have a cellular plan.
Oh, okay,
So
all right. I was just curious about
Yes,
that.
yes, more. Yeah, almost everybody has one, and the staff.
Staff, yeah.
Staff does partners, and
So it's
the
a touch tool.
licensing for the, for the MDTs and the tablets, everything's computer, everything's.
So Ben, last year, after the Board of Aldermen adopted the budget, you asked everybody for a 2% reduction?
Prior to that.
Yeah, if I could comment, I believe it was after the Board of Finance approved the budget.
Right.
But prior to the Board of Aldermen vote, we had a citywide budget cuts to most departments.
Of 2%?
Up to,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And
Yeah.
the fire department was obviously one of them as well.
And if I could chime in, that 2% is of the overall budget, but it was taken out of only the operational expenses because the salaries are.
Can't cut salaries.
Right, it didn't
So
cut salaries.
2% of the big budget came out of the operational expenses as well, so they were kind of a big hit. An example would be in building maintenance. Like we're out of money in building maintenance right now, completely out. So we're doing things like, well, that garage door doesn't work now, we're not fixing that one because it has another one we can move over to. Things like that, so we're making some sacrifices.
Which station is the oldest?
The guys are doing nothing except sitting around outside looking at the girls. They fix doors.
Contractual.
It's contractual. The union will file a grievance.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
So,
All right.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any
Yeah.
members of the board, anything further?
Just a question, where did you find that dispatcher? Where's that on?
It's under police.
Maybe
All the dispatchers on the police?
2 or 3 years ago, the budget migrated all the dispatchers under the police department budget.
Yeah.
All
Oh, we
right,
still have some more, huh?
civil preparedness, 34331.
58.
So that one stayed flat also. But back to what?
58.
Back to the original from last year. Before that, 2% cut.
So we now call civil preparedness emergency
Full
management.
emergency management, and, you know, the Seals Lane building, again, that is in a capital planning plan to be worked on that, but we're chipping away with this account and that building also. And it's just merciless, it was the old silver preparedness.
CMed. If there's any questions on that, but otherwise.
88, yeah.
Oh, did you get the
Yeah.
check? See the check inspection?
Yes, we've,
Stevens determined that's a regional.
Per capita. Okay.
We recently switched over. We were a CMed out of New Haven, and now we are in a
The Bridgeport.
Bridgeport-based.
That's the one.
Right, and it's reduced substantially.
And,
No, it didn't reduce.
and for the new board
From
members,
last year, from 2 years ago, from the New Haven one.
56,000 did.
From, no, the New Haven one was like 102,000.
Oh,
Yeah, and they want to go up even more,
They
right?
want them more,
yeah, I remember that.
yes. We backed out of it.
Chief, do you want to just explain what CMed is for the new members?
Go ahead for the new members.
So CMed is
I
the
get it,
regional medical communications hub. So they're in the basement of Bridgeport Hospital, and all medical communications, all ambulance traffic that goes to emergency scenes and then eventually goes to transport to the hospital. So they coordinate there's multiple channels that they have, so they coordinate, say, an ambulance goes to a medical emergency in Milford, is going to transport to Bridgeport Hospital, they coordinate the communication there. What they also do is they handle mutual aid, which is when we run out of ambulances in the city of Milford, they find the next best closest one for us. And then the last one, which hopefully we never have to do, is mass casualty. So if there's ever something like a large bus or something like that that produce a lot of more patients than we can handle, they would not only coordinate where to get ambulances from, but which hospital can take how many patients. So we use them day to day, but they're a big insurance policy. So.
Is Yale New Haven involved with this at all? Because sometimes my neighbor now, for example, was taken from the house with the New Haven.
Right, so if we transport to New Haven, it's actually what CMed used to be turned into what's called MedCom now, which is American Medical Response. They just carved off part of their dispatch center to handle the traffic list of New Haven. So they do the same thing for New Haven.
Okay.
But it's AMR, not really Yale.
Hmm?
It's AMR, not really Yale.
Yeah, right.
But this
Yeah,
is
really.
the building that kind of got together also.
Yeah, we
took it together. It's a CMed, it's just out of Bridgeport instead of New Haven.
The patient that's being transported gets to select which hospital
Right.
he or she wants to
That's what I,
be sent to.
yeah.
Within reason.
Yeah.
Within reason.
Yeah, you're right.
We've had patients ask.
I want to go to Mass General.
The Norwalk and things like that.
You're not going to go to Mass General?
We don't go there.
Oh, okay.
4360, lightings, hydrants, water.
62. Boy, we get killed on this.
That's, he's paying those charges, he's paying the bills, 2 years ago.
Yeah, this is, we have approximately 1,400 hydrants in the city of Milford, and the Regional Water Authority uses a formula, the number of feet of line towards those, or to those hydrants, number of hydrants, it all gets calculated into the formula. It's been something that I've been advocating for them to reduce. I think Milford is being charged too much in comparison to some of the other regional towns. And also, I mean, there are some areas, like the area up at Hartford, that there's zero expense for the fire service. And I think that we should adopt a similar approach to that. They don't get revenue from their water authority, in those areas, but they also don't bear the expense of the fire service. It's really a wash regionally, but for Milford, there's a huge deficit. We pay a lot more than we receive in pilot money.
You know, they maintain the hydrants, right?
We have a,
Now, someone, where the hell was it, it was in New York, I believe. The hydrant was frozen. Now, who's responsible for that here?
Regional Water Authority.
They would be.
Yeah, they are. They test and flow test the hydrants annually.
Like in the extreme cold, would they come out and testify hydrants at all or anything? They
No.
just assume they're gonna be all right?
Right, if we, after we use them, they'll come out, we notify them, they'll come out and they'll vacuum them, and make sure they're draining, make sure all the water's out of it, so it doesn't freeze.
Oh, okay.
Any hydrant that gets hit from a motor vehicle or snowplow, they come right out and replace it for us.
Okay, so the cause of freezing is because they weren't drained down?
They
is
don't
that-
drain,
yeah,
some of
that's
them
right.
leak, yeah.
Yeah, okay. It just bothered me when I saw that there was a massive fire in New York and they couldn't open the damn hydrants.
And we'll go to another one, hopefully that one works, but there, you know, again, there's 1,475 million. And,
Now, in Stratford, they had that fire yesterday, and they said their hoses, they had to go 900 feet. We don't go 900 feet, do we?
that's one of the reasons why the water company likes Milford, I think, is some of the ordinance that we have. So when you build a new development, will require a fire hydrant to be within 400 feet of the development. So if there isn't a hydrant there, the developer has to put in a water main and put in a hydrant. But that'll increase our charges,
Hmm.
the usage.
But basically, our hydrants are pretty close to it, aren't they? 300-400
Yes,
feet?
Yes.
Yeah. When I saw Stratford say they had that hot tub on the fire, and they had to go 900 feet. Wow. I said, that's a hell of a long,
That's a long way to
that
go.
was a real long time.
We do have two areas in town where we don't have good hydrant service. So we have a preset relay point. So we have like street signs in the road, and we have waypoints on our maps set up so that we actually can go longer than 900 feet on.
Oh, and the
certain
back
places.
roads up in Wolfhard and that, yeah,
Red Brew,
Red Root,
Old
yeah.
J, there's no
Yeah.
fire and stuff.
So we practice kind of coordinating with each other and kind of leapfrogging over each other with all the hose.
Mhm.
Wouldn't be common.
Okay.
What's the hydrant installation?
we budget for one hydrant a year.
So that's actually just,
Yeah, that's for us to say, hey, we need a fire hydrant in Old J area because there's not one there, and we can pay for that, but that's like said, the replacement one, say, no charge for that. And typically, we try to identify an area in the town where we could see that we could use a hydrant. Except in that area, obviously we need it, but there are no water mains there, so we wouldn't get any hydrant. Typically, with water mains are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Chief.
Are you done? Huh?
Yeah.
Emergency services,
What's that?
is that civil preparedness?
oh,
We did that.
We did,
Oh,
we did,
We're
we
good.
did.
We're way ahead of you, Mayor.
We didn't,
Public debt service,
Hey,
450,
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
page 78.
Need any
90.
additional information?
What are we on?
Public debt service.
No, we gotta go sewer commission.
That's Public Works.
Public Works.
Sewer commission. Oh, that's public work?
Yeah.
You messed this up, Joe.
Sorry.
Oh,
4503,
do the work and he screwed it up.
page 78.
Oh, you are a piece of work, huh, Diane? Oh, this is my favorite one. I love public works service.
You do?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I just love this one. This is the one we keep putting bonds in.
All right, any questions for Peter?
Yep. Do we reduce anything, Guy? Does this reflect any refunding and everything? Is this right up to date, like,
Yes,
The refunding gets spread out over several years. You know, whenever we have a refunding, it doesn't get all
Oh,
big in
right.
one year.
No.
It's,
Why?
that's the way it is.
Yeah?
Yes. It has to
Usual
be-
accounting methods?
Yes, there is not only accounting, it's also required as part of the refunding in terms of the intricacies of the bonds. But we try to put as much up front as we
Okay.
can in the earlier years.
Does this include short-term debt?
No, the short-term debt, I mean, it is related to short-term debt because short-term debt is paid off by this
Right, the
debt.
bonds,
bond
right,
debt.
right.
But the short-term debt interest is paid out of the Fund 40 where the capital projects reside. So it's the capital projects fund, the sanitary sewers fund, and the schools construction funds that
So the short interest, the short.
is part of
debt
that,
interest
if you recall.
is capitalized.
Is capitalized. If you recall, the
Right.
financing
It's
component is
capitalized.
capitalized.
Page 93, 49, 94, school debt.
In basis.
$49.95, education benefits, education benefits,
For the education.
full benefits non-teaching. $49.95.
Is that a figure they just give to you? The FICA 1.2 million?
Yes, but it's calculated based on the contractual, based on the wages. So,
Wages, yeah.
yeah.
It seems too, I don't like round figures. It's always bothers me.
And I don't know if you guys see underneath the $1 placeholder.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There was speculation last year, and I guess even this year, that some of the teacher retirement liabilities may be pushed onto the cities and towns. And so, again, we're thankful that that didn't happen last year, and we're hopeful that it won't happen again this year. But from an accounting standpoint, just so that there is, if it did happen, we'd have to transfer at any time, we did have a $1 placeholder and established that line item, with the hope that it doesn't happen.
What is he doing? He just came out with his message yesterday or whatever. And is anything in that message yesterday from the mayor, from the governor?
He proposed, the governor's office proposed a 2019 budget. Milford does have an additional reduction down to about $12,929,945. But there, as opposed to last year, as of October, the legislature adopted a budget that he signed that was a little over $15 million, but with holdbacks and a couple of other reductions that went down to 13.7 million. And there's other things in the budget as of today that just are not part of the state funding anymore. For example, the state used to fund the circuit breaker program, which was property tax relief for seniors and disabled, and now the city will continue to fund that program at about $400,000. So that's an additional loss of reimbursement or loss of revenue that the city is going to sustain. There's other programs too. There's the renter's rebate program that's now on the city. It used to be, 100% on the state. And there's other programs too that are not necessarily state aid or state grants, but the state funded, and now it's the responsibilities of the municipalities to fund.
Are we reflected them in our revenue areas yet?
Yes, I mean, we made those adjustments. Again, this was released last week, so there's a couple of other tweaks, but I think it's pretty close to what's in there. There may be some adjustments.
There may be some adjustment, because the governor just released it this past week.
Right. Okay.
And again, this is, the governor's numbers aren't necessarily
The final.
figures, but again, it's just a tool that we use to go on at this point in the budget process or the budget cycle.
He's picking up a lot of money of Connecticut income taxes, you realize that? You guys don't see it, but every retiree sees it. Now taking taxes out of my pension, which they never did before. Taking taxes out of my 401k, which they never did before. Unless you file a form. And if you don't file the form properly, they'll still take the taxes out. I'd love to know how much more money the governor's getting this year. A lot. Wasn't there.
Where do they put all the tolls in?
Huh?
Where do they put all the tolls in?
You know what? That's an absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace.
All right.
You've got a kid working at Sikorsky, making $18 an hour, putting parts together.
I'm gonna go back to the agenda though. No tolls discussion tonight.
Oh, sure.
Employee benefits general, 4710.
I had a question. Ben, what's that number? It's $1, but what did the governor want us to put there?
It was.
He hasn't floated for this year. Last year, it went up to it went through a bunch of different scenarios, but I think at one point it had the city of Milford contributing like $6-7 million.
Okay.
But again, it went through a bunch of different
Right.
scenarios, and it ultimately never happened, thank God.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, what do you got, Brian?
Page 84, employee benefits, 4710.
What do we have for a balance for post-employment? Do we have a balance in that account, post-employment benefits? That's the one we.
So about 5 years ago, we established a trust. So not only do we pay as you go, but we also have money for future employees.
Right.
We're building up that trust. How much is in the trust now?
It's a little over $6 million.
Six, okay. But we want to be, what, 43?
Oh, it's a big liability.
Yeah, right.
It's a large liability.
Large, yeah.
And so, every year, we've always done the pay-as-you-go, and all municipalities, not just in Connecticut, but across the nation, that had been the industry standard up until Gadsby came out with some new pronouncements 8-9 years ago. And so at that point, we started to fund future liabilities, and I think probably for the last 7, 8, 9 years, we have done the pay-as-you-go and then an additional $500,000 a year. And about 5 years ago, we started earmarking that $500,000, and putting it into a trust that's been invested for future liabilities.
Good program.
Yeah,
Good enough.
keeps us out of trouble. 85, right?
It's all the training
I'm sorry.
under operational expenses. Yeah, a couple years ago it was virtual.
That is mandated by
Huh?
bargaining unit contracts, so we have to set aside that amount in the budget each year for training for each of the bargaining units listed.
All right. Nothing further. Page 85, insurance and bonds. And 84740, claims and refunds.
Just for, how did that liability for
Good
the
line, yeah.
auto, how did that drop down so much?
It dropped down because working with the administration, we had to make some cuts in the budget, and we have a little bit of a surplus in the property and casualty fund to help offset that reduction this year.
What fund is that?
It's Fund 17.
So that the premium didn't go down?
No, the premium didn't go down that much, no.
No, it didn't go-
But the good news is the premium, I believe, if much. It didn't go up modestly, it was almost flat.
I think it got locked in for a 3-year period.
3-year.
The area that we are going up in is the excess costs. Or last year we went up to, I'm sorry, last year there was about a 25 to 30% increase in the excess costs. You know, this is for not property casualty, but for our health insurance, which I guess is on the next page. That area, we've always had, at least the last couple of years, we've gone over the $100,000 per individual. The city self-funds for the first $100,000, and after that we have excess cost insurance also through Blue Cross Anthem. And we have had several years in a row where our runs have been a lot.
Okay, so the general and auto, the premium stayed the same.
But because we had a surplus, we're using some of the surplus towards offset the premium.
Offset the premium.
Okay,
From 17.
the surplus Fund 17?
Yeah, this money that you see here, the premiums paid out of Fund 17, but this is the contribution to there, so that we may pay the premium.
Okay.
And this year we're taking a reduction, and it's offset by the surplus in Fund 17.
Okay. Page 86, benefit and salary reserve and unallocated contingency, Fund 4790 and 4799.
86. That's right.
4790 benefit salary reserve, 4799 unallocated contingency.
Okay, benefit and stuff. So here we're going from 577 to 126?
Yes, because some of the bargaining contracts have settled in anticipation of July 1st. So, for example, the police contract has settled,
So there, well,
it's
it's settled. I don't think it's been signed, but the bargaining unit and the Board of Aldermen have both adopted the contract. So this is for those unsettled contracts. It's the reserve amount that we keep.
So this reflects, for example, the nurse's contract, the
Every
fire dispatcher, the few contracts that have not settled yet, that have expired.
Okay, nothing further on those two items. We'll move to page 93, 4993, education audit. And page 94, 4997, education health insurance contribution.
How do you determine that amount? How do they determine that?
We have to get information from our healthcare consultants / actuaries to get the projected claims, projections for the renewal, the admin costs, the stop loss or excess costs that the mayor mentioned. So each year we have to get proper projections to help me calculate this figure.
This is over and above their $93 million budget, isn't it? They're over $100 million now.
Yeah.
If you look, I think it's page 9. It lists all the education costs.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
page 9.
No, it's not.
It's,
Page.
further. So basically, it's they're all in the same section.
Oh, I guess it's page 13. and then they leave the, so
Oh,
it's page
yeah.
13.
Yeah, page 13, yes.
Yeah, so we had 27 million on 290.
Yeah, you just, add- if you add the 90-something million to that, those are all the education costs.
A lot of bucks, a lot of bucks.
Anything further?
Done. God, you got out early, bro.
All right,
You know how to do it, don't
is
you?
there a motion for recess?
So moved.
So moved. Seconded by Mr. Fitzpatrick. Thank you all.
Let's go to recess.
Just say hello, okay?
I got my money.